All right, so we got Parks the Pro starting off here today with Coach. Give me everything with you, Coach Joshua Torres.
Yeah,
All
Coach
right.
Josh Torres.
Yep.
Yeah,
So give me a little bit of background on you, brother. Let people know about you.
yeah. So my background, I'm 32 now, but I started coaching when I was 24. I was coaching in Guam, so I had University of Guam. Uh, was working with the Guam junior national team, Guam men's national team. Had a couple of trips to the Philippines. Was coaching with LaSalle University out there, men's and women's sides. I was high school coach. We took third in nationals. Uh, I did women's 1 year, and then men's same year. Um, and then from there, I moved back to the U.S. and was coaching at JUCO. So I was in the Jayhawk conference. So um, at Northwest Kansas Tech, I was in the Jayhawk conference. We went to the playoffs, had a couple All-American candidates, and we were really rolling that first year. And then this last year I was at a prep school and looking to see what happens next year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So most people don't know about that Jayhawk conference. We all look at it like Jayhawk is it's a tough place, man. So kind of let
Oh
people know
yeah,
like how tough that Jayhawk situation is out there.
yeah. So when I go to like camps and clinics, I kind of talk to people. I tell them, hey, I coach JUCO, and a lot of people they go, oh, JUCO,
Mm-hmm.
low level. Like, no, you don't understand. Like JUCO, national JUCO versus regional JUCO, totally different.
Yeah.
As you know, because you guys are up there in that Chicago conference, that Illinois conference, big time. So when you talk about Jayhawk, you're talking about historic programs. You got, let's see, I mean, Dodge City there.
Yep. I lost you for a second.
Uh, yeah, so one of my coaches is calling me, but no. So you have historical programs. You have Dodge City, Garden City. Colby's been good in recent years. You've got Independence, and then you've got the big ones. Independence. Everybody knows from the football side on the Netflix documentaries, but
Yep.
they are really good in basketball as well. And then you've got the big boys. You've got the Hutch, Coffeeville. Um, Cali County is always good. So I mean, night in and night out, there's no slack in that conference. Top 25. There's weeks we would look at the top 25 and have 4 and 5 just in our conference. We're like, dang, you got to play 16, turn around, play four. You have one, weekend off, and then all of a sudden I got to play number one. And so that
Mm-hmm.
conference there, that's no joke.
Yep.
And again, when you go to camps and clinics, you explain that to people. I say, look, it's a top conference. The Jayhawk conference actually hosts the national tournament at Hutch,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the conference we're in.
Yep. Yep. And most people, like you just said, like they look at JUCO like it's low level. It's like, no, JUCO is still college basketball. You know how many
Hmm.
people end up leaving JUCO and going to the places that they wanted to get to, but initially were told no. That's a whole nother can of worms, though. Like most people just don't understand like how this whole call works.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
as far as that though, like you said, a couple of All American situations as far as kids. A lot of people don't know how All American at JUCO works. Like you have to be, almost basically player of the year in a conference, and the conference is
Right.
challenging as that. Then you actually got to get, voted for the region. So you got to clear two major hurdles before they decide, okay, you're first, second, or third team. And then
Hmm.
it's only so many people in that situation too. You're talking about, over 100 starters that could be a part of that equation, and then you're starting, narrowing it down.
Right. Then you've got National Player of the Week. If you don't get a National Player of the Week, there's no chance you get out of the Jayhawk as All American. If you don't get National Player of the Week twice, you probably not making All Conference.
Hmm.
And because you get 5 slots, so it's a tough conference. But when people talk JUCO, and I kind of tell people my first taste of JUCO, because I did the same. I was, overseas, so I was like, well, most of the kids that come here from a upper echelons of programs or a low level D1, that's the kids that came to play for us. Right? Like I had a Belmont kid and
Hmm.
best center I had coached at the time.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's a mid major, so that's kind of that's the stigma. And then when we sit here and we talk about JUCO, my first taste, we're in Denver, well, north of Denver, but we're out in that Colorado Jamboree, and
Hmm.
Literally any school you can think of is there. You got North Carolina State, Texas, all the way from Pac-10, Pac-12, Big Ten, SEC. Everybody's there. Coach, who do you got? Who you got that I need to be looking at? I said, well, I've got these two. They're preseason, borderline All-Americans, top 100 here, top 100 there. These are the two to look at. But I also have some guys that are under the radar, 44-inch verticals that could be appealing for you. And that team there, that was a special moment. But that was my first taste. I knew coming into the Jayhawk, I was like, okay, this is big time. It's my big break. And then coming into a program, this was actually our first year in the Jayhawk. So it was 100% the three of us as coaches put our fingerprint on it and let's see what we can do. And first year there, we had a really good team coming in, and we make the playoffs. We make a playoff push at the end. We go ahead and head to Wichita, big time. And so all of a sudden, everybody's fingerprint is on it and everybody's on the map. But that's what JUCO gives you. It's a platform and an opportunity to go ahead and elevate. I had 5 kids go on to become starters as juniors because, they're with us 2 years, go on to be starters as juniors as soon as they left us, at D1s and high D2s.
And that's what most people don't think. Like, our whole gig is to be able to develop the young men or young women if you're on the women's side, and then at the same time be able to place them in a situation that fits the dream that they had when we originally recruited them. And people don't get that. And there was a young man, we were trying to recruit him out of high school. He was, I can't remember the town, but it's one of the towns at the tip of Illinois down there, just way down there, right? So he decides to go down to, forget what they call the conference. He goes down to Region 5, right? Gets there, and they had a decommit come in from Florida State. That kid put up over 1,100 points that season. It was just kind of like, why am I not playing? Well, do you see what he's doing? And he's doing it officially? Like, you're going to run into these roadblocks sometimes, son. And he eventually transferred back up our way for, more of a, so he could actually get on the court. But like you said, we all got one of them stories, and it's like, okay, my first year coaching on staff or whatnot like that, wasn't even paid yet. We get into this Region 4 title game. I don't know what I'm doing. 24, just same way you just said, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, well, we get to preseason, right? Everybody's talking about this guy. Like our head coach tells the story better. Everybody's talking about this guy, whatever. He's got rec specs on. He's got a size 18 shoe. And we're like, who is this dude that's 180 pounds? Well, what ends up happening is he jumps over one of our kids that decides he wants to try to take a charge, splits his legs, dunks on him, and then hangs on the rim, right? So our kid, you take a charge, he's like, wait, nothing happened. And he goes like this, and his butt came back and said, and it was just kind of like, right, and we're all looking like, because we're looking at our coach like, okay, can we laugh? Because we don't want to laugh, what I'm saying, because he's our guy, but it's just kind of like, dang. But that guy ended up being Rashawn Holmes. It was like, okay, he made it to the league. He went and set all these breaking records and all that stuff like that. You don't know who you're going to run into in this thing. Everybody has somebody, and everybody has a connection to this thing from all over the country.
Right.
So
the crazy part is those players at JUCO, they go on to the league, and they do more than just have a cup of coffee in the league. They actually play. They get minutes. They get stuff. People always we always talk about the top of the top, like Jimmy Butler. Okay, we all know the story. But even when we're not talking about the upper echelons of NBA, you've got JUCO stories all in there.
Yep. Because if I'm not mistaken, Mitch Richmond is a JUCO story. Like, there's so many of them. Albert Pujols. Like, until I seen that pop up on NJCA, I'm like, what? The machine?
We're best of all time.
Exactly. It's like that guy is like
JUCO baseball is a whole different level.
JUCO
baseball, you can have 12 guys go D1 from your squad. Yeah.
Yep. So it's just so JUCO is its own beast. But talking about JUCO, I did see something. I don't have the most information on it yet. I wanted to slightly touch on. John Rothstein put out something talking about multiple transfers. You get a chance to see that yet?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's like multiple transfers. If you transfer too much, it's an issue now. I don't know where that's going to go, but it was just a weird tweet I saw earlier. And if I could pull it up, I'll let you know. So yeah, it said NCAA program. This is John Ross thing. NCAA programs. This memo earlier regarding the waiver process for undergraduates who are two-time transfers. So I don't know where they're gonna go with that, but if they have to get a waiver, I don't know. That might could have put a kibosh on the on the portal just a little bit. But getting into that
Yeah,
transfer
because
portal,
what are
what
we
have
at
you?
now? We're close to 2,000 people.
Yeah, with how many spots are available? Like 800.
Yes.
So it's a dog eat dog world on that one. And it's not like the kids aren't talented. You got to that level already. You might have been producing, but you might have a kid that wants to move up to your spot because he's at a place that he will quote unquote call a lower level. And realistically, it's not. You're still going to school and playing for free.
Right.
So I don't know, but transfer portal, like, just wanted to touch into that as far as the next move on. What have you seen as
Yeah,
far as the benefits and just?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a double-edged sword.
Mhm.
It definitely benefits some to transfer. If I am, let's say I am sitting behind an All-American guy at North Carolina, and I'm getting 7 minutes here, 10 minutes there, a blowout, I'm getting 12. But in those minutes, I'm producing. And then that All-American decides I'm coming back. Okay, well, maybe it's time I go ahead and try and get something else. But at the same time, you're going into a portal where there's 600 kids possibly left unsigned.
Mm-hmm.
So you're leaving a spot, and that's not to say every kid's going to go back, because as you know, some coaches say, hey, look, we don't have a spot for you next year.
Yeah.
But let's just say those kids, for sake of argument, do have spots to go next year, and they're saying, no, I don't want to be here. It's a double-edged sword, man. A lot of guys, not necessarily just going to have to move down levels. There's going to be a lot of guys that don't have spots.
Mm-hmm.
My two All-American candidates we were talking about earlier, both late this last summer, about July, were texting me, hey, coach, I need to get somewhere. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
who's on you? Nobody. I'm like, dang, 2 years ago we were JUCO All-American candidates, and now, went from D1, new coach came in, let us go, and now where do I go? So it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing for the kids that it happens to, and we're going to hear a lot of those stories. A lot of, well, I was here, coach didn't do this, my game didn't translate to this program. I got another opportunity, and now it was better. We're going to hear a lot of those stories.
Yep.
But the stories we're not going to hear is the guy who's got people in their corner at home typically saying, hey, man, you're better than that. Hey, man, you're better than that. And it's not, my generation, your generation, it was, hey, coach, it's not because coach doesn't like you. You're not doing something, work harder.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the speech my mom gave me, too often probably.
Yep.
And it was, you're not doing something that they want. Sit down and have a conversation. You're a man. So, okay, so let's sit down and have a conversation. Now, we're missing that aspect. So some of those guys, I'm better than that. I need to leave, this D2. I need to be D1.
Mm-hmm.
But you were happy there. So it's a double-edged sword. I think we're going to start to hear a lot of happy stories. But I think we're going to miss out on, a lot of these kids are making the wrong decision. And I think at some point it does have to balance out.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing with that too, I really, really dislike the D1 or bus culture because realistically, if the objective is anything, the objective is free school. Now, the other part of that is if you're going to have the opportunity to play, but they're recruiting you to be the 13th man, even though they give you a scholarship, you got to ask yourself some questions here, especially if it's a Division I school that's giving you that kind of option, because that tells me that every other level that can make this free is just kind of like, hey, we want you, but you want that one behind, you want to be able to say, hey, I played Division I, which is just the story for a lot of people because it's the battery in the back of others that are pushing you towards this conclusion that you want. And realistically, most people can't tell us that there's over 360 Division I schools. They can't tell us where those schools are. But as long as one of them gives you a scholarship, it doesn't matter. It could be on a Himalayan mountain. It's Division I. I'm up there. No, bro, you can't even breathe. But this is where you want to go to school. It's wild to hear some of the stuff that you hear in passing conversations, like, yeah, he doesn't want that. Huh? Well, what
Yeah.
Division I schools are recruiting him? He doesn't have any. So who is recruiting him? Actually, nobody. So it's only Division I, but yet nobody has, you know, tried anything to recruit you. We might need
Right.
to sit down, like you were saying, like, and have a conversation just amongst us, and then just amongst some adults too, because that we got to fix. Because apparently the entire world has told you no. The entire world's telling you no. There's an issue, bro. Like we got to address that. Otherwise, you're just barking up the wrong tree. And what you're gonna end up
Yeah.
doing is you're gonna be upset, frustrated, and you're gonna be wasting years of eligibility being someplace not playing. And then on top of that, if you're someplace not playing, they certainly ain't paying. So
Yes. And we, I know you have stories, but me personally, I have stories where, you know, guys are getting recruited to some high level D2 programs.
mhm.
Like there's a quality offer, and then the one, I don't want to say where because then they'll know who I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
one somewhere where they get, feet of snow calls you and they have nothing around. All of
Mhm.
a sudden, oh, I'm going there. Okay. And then I always give the wellness call. Hey, how's it going? What's up?
Mhm.
Like, what's new? How are you liking school? What do your grades look like? That's usually how the call goes. And it was, oh man, it's so cold. We told you this. We told you that's why it came late. And we told you
Mhm.
this. And another one that actually listened, he was a D2 kid, getting a lot of D2s and kind of wasn't sticking. One of those really hardworking like athletes, does everything correctly, but just for whatever reason, not sticking at a program. So
Mhm.
hey, really a different level is calling. It's not a D1, D2, D3. It's a different level. We have NAIs, we have USCAAs. And I had two of these kids. And I said, why not hear them out? It's why not hear them out? Both end up signing somewhere, and now they're in national title contention.
Mhm.
And it's like there is different levels to this, and it's like you said, as long as you graduate, and that's always my question, especially when they're like, "Hey, coach, I'm ready to go pro." Well, okay, did you finish school? Did you
Mhm.
finish school? Because the ball stops bouncing eventually,
Yeah.
and so that's always the first question: did you finish school? And what was your grades, and all those questions that come along with that. But yeah, I mean, and that's why I said it's a double-edged sword because as we as coaches sit down and say, "Hey, look, let me play the uncle role or the big brother role here," and just say, "Look, I love you. This is what I see for you, but right now it's not coming. But here's what's available. Let's see what the best option available is for you. Not
Mhm.
necessarily on paper. I played at Duke. Everybody would love to say that,
Right.
but how many actually get to say, "Yeah, I played at Duke"? Not too many, right? And so then you sit down, and some of them listen, some of them don't. But the best
Mhm.
thing we can do as coaches is just make sure they understand the options available to them and assist.
Yep. Yep. Because we always say it's not our job to completely steer you into a situation. We're just gonna throw all the options on the table, and which one fits best for you. Hey, let's roll with that. Or let's
Right.
identify each pros and cons of going this far. Like we had a kid one of the first couple of years I was on staff, and Colorado Christian comes calling. So I'll say that. So Colorado Christian comes calling, but obviously he's in Elgin, Illinois. Area kid too, so didn't come from anywhere. Close family, they come to everything. First statement out of his mouth is, hey, "That's kind of far." Head coach is like, "Hey, your dad works for airline. I'm pretty sure you'll be okay. Just go out there, try it out, right?" And what ends up happening is when they go and try it out, it's just that initial, "I'm afraid to go out there and try it out." He went out there and tried it out. He came back home. He got a degree from there. He's an accountant now. I've seen him doing money situations for the Rockies. Is like, this has worked out very well for you, sir. That didn't want to go anywhere. You go out there, you don't come
Yeah,
home.
yeah, and that's a good landing spot too. Just being right there, right outside of Denver, that's a good landing spot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
So you, so,
and then again, that's just somebody that listened.
mm-hmm. Because everything else was right. We don't get to that point if everything else was not right. And it's like, well, they can't call him. Well, what should I do? You might want to look into it. How extensive you get into it, that part I don't know. But like you said, great spot to be in because he's right outside of town. He has a lot of different options that he can take care of. You can't really beat that. Right? They're gonna keep hitting you. That's a good thing though. You're a wanted person. All right, so what I wanted to get into next, and then I'll break all this stuff up too, and then bring it back, so that way we got our pause breaks or whatever. But I wanted to get into just the post grad situation, and obviously that floor is yours on that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this was my first go round post grad here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not necessarily it wasn't a pretty situation, right?
Okay.
Did have housing, our own gym, had all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't necessarily basketball stuff that wasn't great.
Yeah.
Um, Post grad is starting to, and the portal actually has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's say you got, you know, Johnny Davis over here. I'm in Oklahoma City. Let's say I've got a 6A kid, all conference, but he's not quite a D1 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, D1's the portal's open. So we're going to let the portal play itself out because I'd rather have a junior who's going to buy in, but also come in with a more muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So the D1s, if you don't have those yet, D2s are also waiting for the D1s that are going to fall in. And even now, NAI are waiting for the D1s and D2s to fall in. And so now I've got Johnny Davis over here, well, where do I go? Well, the problem right now is there's so many prep schools and post grads that have popped up that, well, come with us, we'll give you a partial scholarship, and instead of 17,000, you pay 8. And I go, okay. And then some of these situations they go and they don't do right by the kids. Meaning like you might get coached, you might hit the weight room, basketball stuff might be, but you might not play the right competition. You might um, you might not eat the meal plans has been a big thing that I've seen just overall. You might not eat properly. Um, so that's kind of what the world is dealing with now. And so as a whole, I think there's gonna have to be there's some governing bodies, and I think that's starting to come together. But
Mm-hmm.
post, you got to be around the right people. You need to really do your research. See, like this one that I was at, man, we only played colleges. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
To get we only play D1, D2 JUCOs or NAIAs. Usually they're JV still NAIA going against NAIA coaches. Um, and we got offers out of that. So again, the basketball side was flawless. Like we had our own gym, had our own weight room. Um, we had a gun, we had rollers, we had anything you needed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, it's just that extra aspect that's missing in a lot of programs is missing, And what I've noticed as far as post grads goes is a lot of them have like, I own a house, so I'm just going to charge you guys the rent, charge you a little more, and you
Mm-hmm.
guys. But the gym is going to be 15, 20 miles around, around town, and then you guys don't have a car. I just have a small sedan. How do I get you guys there? A lot of logistic problems are really popping up. So again, like I've seen some where it's like, hey, we work with such and such NBA trainers and such former D1 players and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
while it might be true, you have to do your research to understand, do they have a gym? That's the first one. And do they have housing? Okay, if not, what's the housing options? And it's the same thing. Like let's say D2 JUCOs, a lot of those don't have housing. I'm sure we run into that all the time. Actually, in your conference, I had ran into one that they didn't have housing, and so we had to figure out apartments for the kids, um, and things like that. So it's you run into the same problems, but because it's a gap year, it's a high risk, high reward.
Mm-hmm.
So really up my stock, or I could really lose my opportunities.
Yeah.
So, it's a hit and miss, but again, it's a double edged sword. The
Yeah.
life in basketball has become very business oriented, which then makes it, dog eat dog here, and post grad is a necessary thing, but it's not necessarily you have to do your research, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And what we try to tell guys is, whatever you do, whether it's post grad or JUCO or a combination of both, going post grad first and then coming to JUCO, you're betting on yourself to try to up that stock. So that way, you come out of this, you might have went into this looking, like a smaller bank branch, just to give an example, but you come out of this looking like Goldman Sachs. That's what you want to do because some guys or even gals, their body hasn't hit that certain maturity yet. And that could have been the reason why they didn't get the scholarship to begin with because, just the eye test. We look, arms are short, okay, doesn't play hard enough, or just doesn't have, our favorite word, just doesn't have the motor. We had a Loyola assistant come in one time. We had a 6'10" kid. And, this is right around the time, I believe they were moving to the Missouri Valley. So in their mind, they're like, look, we got to have, the horses to be able to compete against Wichita State and a few other places, right? So they looked at him and was like, yeah, doesn't play. He doesn't play with enough motor to play in our league. And they're just kind of, well, I've been telling you this. It's not your skill set. It's how quickly you do this. You're not gassed after 4 minutes. Just like I asked my AAU guys last night. I was like, one of the reasons why they got 4-minute breaks every in college basketball? Those guys are tired, man. You ever ran up and down the court every 30 seconds? And having to move and screen people and hit people that are bigger, stronger than you or same size as you, it wears you down. There's a reason why we get to January, we got things that we call like the freshman wall. Yeah, stuff slowed down for you. It speeds back up. You tired having to play every other day or go to film or go to, weightlifting and things like that. So just like you said, the meal plans and stuff like that, that stuff is important. What are you putting in your body? Did you actually go to sleep? Did you try to do too much yesterday just because you had an extra hour of free time when you could have been, icing or, something like that, doing extra stretches to get your body right? Maybe you got to get your mind right so it can not focus on the imperfections that are having you feel as though you are injured. All of that stuff is really, really important. But they don't think about it because at the end of the day, it's still 20-year-olds, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. So they still want to go have their fun. And they're leveraging the fun versus where they could actually end up being. And that ends up being the ultimate problem in the situation for where they actually end up. Because those are those questions, or like you said, the kid is wondering, like, okay, I don't have anything, but I was just this high up on this list. But now, you don't want them to run into the what we call the June scholarship. Yeah, okay, we'll take you in June. That means everybody else on this list we didn't get. Now we'll take you. You don't want that because then you 12, 13th man. They paying for it, but yeah, outside of okay, I just wanted my education paid for. That's one thing. But if you wanted to actually get out there in the court, you're not a part of that plan. Unless there are several injuries, but then at the same time, now you're not playing for the program that you wanted to play for, which was, perceived as winning.
Yeah, and that happens. But and again, we're gonna hear the top stories. We're gonna hear the, I didn't get my offer till June. I showed up
Mm-hmm.
in July, and I worked my way up. We're gonna hear those stories. But
Yeah.
I think we need to have the kids, especially you're coaching AAU. This is
Mm-hmm.
my first time really coaching AAU. I've been consulting, so like two programs in DC when I lived in DC. I would go before tournament time and give them twists to plays, X's and O's, in those type of, and give them twists so that they weren't scouted before, and then
Mm-hmm.
let them run. I didn't coach because I didn't want to. I
Yeah.
didn't want to. First, I was like, well, I'm used to college. I don't really want to coach sophomores.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that was part of being a young coach. I'm above that, right? And it's just not true, but it's your ego at the time. And so now I'm coaching AAU, and I'm having that same conversation. I said, you know, if we're not sprinting to the corner, what's the point of having a fast break?
Mm-hmm.
If you're sprint on offense, defense, whether I've touched the ball in the last one possession or 10 possessions, what are you doing?
Yep.
And you guys, right now, I'm doing an unsigned seniors AAU. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you guys have offers, or you wouldn't be here. And um, this is not how you get. You need to be somebody that jumps off film. And man, he's always on his horse. He's always 100
Mm-hmm.
miles an hour. And some of them, again, you're going to reach some. You're not going to reach all. But some of them kind of get it, And it's, I had a quote. I can't remember. It was, you know, um, You start to sort your distractions, and you distance yourself from your distractions, you will start to come closer to your goal. If you become closer to your distractions, you start to distance yourself from your goal. And
Yep.
I'm like, a lot of this stuff is just that. In post grad, same thing where players, it's their first time on their own. They're here in Oklahoma. They have their home. They have their own dorm, and they're up until 3 in the morning. We practice at 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
I got them on a college schedule. 5:30 weight room, 7:15 breakfast, 8 o'clock film. 12:15 they get a little break. 12:15 we go weight room, and then you got practice right after the weight room. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, and then at night you have to hit 500 a day, not shoot. You have to hit
Yeah.
chart so you know what shots you're taking and things like that.
Yeah.
And they still stay up till 3, 4 in the morning. And that doesn't last long once they realize, oh, I have to prioritize or go home. And it's the same with college. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. You just go home.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's something we're definitely going to have, going forward. I think this is the cool generation. Um, I actually coach. I went to a camp up in Portland. No, it was in Seattle. The coach is from Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First thing he does, he sits the kids down and he goes, okay, we're in the gym. He sits the kids down and he goes, okay, I need everybody to do one thing for me. Okay, I'm what? And he's like, I need everybody to unzip your jacket and take it off. I'm like, they're not in the jacket, right? And I'm not thinking, I'm just paying attention. What are you saying? And he goes, I need you to take that cool jacket off. We're not going to do that here. We're here to work. And that
Mm-hmm.
really stuck with me for the last that's probably 5 years ago. And I think that's what we're entering. We're in the cool generation. I'm gonna jog and kind of have a swagger lean instead of sprint. Or I'm gonna play defense unless it's somebody really good. I'm just gonna kind of shadow him and hope that I don't get broken.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you're an unsung senior, we're not gonna make it that way.
Yeah. And that's one thing that we try to break our guys up with the moment we show up for AAU. Normally, like the first week and a half, I try to keep my yelling minimal. And the reason for it is my college season just got done, and I'm trying to transition to this is just per possession. We both know it's less possessions. So in my mind, I want you to understand the importance. Like I had a 5 minute conversation with one of the kids last night. I was like, what you guys don't understand is you playing a high school game. Let's say you get the ball 50 times tonight. Let's say y'all turn it over 10 to 15 times. How many times can we score? She tells me, 35, unless something crazy happens. I was like, all right, so 35. So now you see what we're trying to say as college coaches when we're saying you guys don't play at the place or the pace that we would want you to play at, so that way we can bring you in. If we can't see you do it on a slower level, then why would I want to get you here and speed you up? It don't work like that for everybody. Unless you're some exceptional athlete, but that's different. They'll gauge you like however that way. Because again, it don't be about the X's and O's, it's about your ability to be efficient within whatever scheme we've come up with, because you know what the plays are, you know where the shots should come from, you know how to attack downhill, you should know everything at that point. You know what our defensive schemes are, all of that. All you're doing is showcasing that you can do this on a competent level so that way you can show it for the next level. You can't show it for the next level. You can't play there. And I keep telling them too, I was like, all right, you quick, but you're not strong enough. I asked y'all to do what last year? Hit the weight room. So what happened when you guys got bullied in the sectional championship game? Yeah, we was thinking back about. See, I was like, but that could have started 6 months ago. Y'all don't be listening to what we're saying. You think that, oh, I'm just gonna go and do me. No. And the other part about the AAU, which ties us all in, like my group has been all over the country doing pretty well for themselves. Okay, cool, fine. But at the same time, y'all know that y'all been around the country doing well for yourselves. What that means is y'all been around the country playing other people that are just as talented as you, but you guys operate more efficiently and you've been together so long, you beat them. So with that being said, you could beat some of the teams you lost to too if you just tighten up and take some of your ego up out of the situation. Should you have shot that shot? It looked good, I know, but you were wide open for a reason. We didn't even get any ball reversals. No ball reversals, no touches to the paint. We just gonna come down and shoot the shot. Yeah, he's shooting 50% from three. Okay, fine. But he's shooting 50% from three off the catch and shoot, not creating his own. So you got to look at just those aspects within the X's and O's so that way we can get to the next level of what we're doing. Otherwise, we stuck here going over regurgitated information. That shouldn't happen because, again, y'all been together too long. And then it finally hit him. I was like, now, the whole point of my thing with that was, I was like, now, your points per possession. Do you think the college coach wants to show up and see a 40-40 game? Probably not. Unless there's just phenomenal defense going on. Or we know that there's a list of athletes here and you guys are all shutting each other down. Because ultimately, in my mind, if you can't guard your position, you can't play. Can't. It's not gonna happen. I don't know where you think you're gonna do that at, but if you out here getting broke up every 2 seconds, so what? And they start to realize that the further they go, but in the beginning it's like ha ha ha, and then you get into the game situation like, dang, okay, we gotta think back to that situation that we were trying to address in March, so that when we get to June, well, not June, when we get to July, or when we get to whatever live period event we at, y'all ready to perform. Our job at that point is we don't want to yell at y'all. We want to sit down. We here for the show too. Do what we've been working on. Do you, which ultimately means the entire group. Do what you guys are supposed to do, and then I'm quiet. I got popcorn, bro. Good job. High five. That's it. I just want to enjoy it, and that's all it should be to it. And I've been with the AAU situation now. This is 11 years for me, but a couple of different programs, and some are ran differently than others. But you have to have a hard line for what you want the kids to operate as, so that way they get on page, which ultimately means parents get on page with you as well as coaches. And so that way it's optimal. Because when we get somewhere, it should always be optimal. If it's not optimal, why are we here? We should have been at home. And that should have just been the weekend that we decided to take off. Maybe we got injuries or something like that, or, spring break came and you guys can't focus. I don't know why you can't focus, but I'm not trying to, get on a plane with you or drive 10 hours somewhere if you're not going to be focused. Because that means I got 10-hour ride home and I'm be upset. And unfortunately, my girl going to be with me looking at it sideways because I'm be upset complaining to her. So.
No, definitely. And it seems to be that's everybody everywhere right now. But the kids that get it, man, they're going to get it and take off. Ones that don't, I say, that's always the hometown hero. That's the man in high school. He was really good.
Yep.
But there's always wasn't really good in high school, but somehow made it. And they heard what you said and they said, okay, it's time.
It's been a couple of them. It was one guy I remember we had. His dad owned a business, so he wasn't going to pursue his 4-year situation. He just wanted to play his 2. But he had a number of Division IIs reaching out to him. And just for the simple fact that, like, when I say this man was like a charge-taking assassin, it didn't make sense. He was always there. And it's like, how did he – and you see him sprinting back to stop a fast break to take a charge. It's like, who invented you? And it's not a small guy. This guy's 6'6". He's moving, charge. And then it got to the point where we were at nationals. Like, the announcer was like, okay, there was a charge taken. Can you guess who it was? Yeah, that was Connor Bowes. Yeah, Connor going to take his charges. So it became like a thing. And I think he ended up with like 38 that year or something like that. Who takes 38 charges?
Wow, that's crazy.
Like, guys have to find their niche too. And that's something too I wanted to get into, where you got the scholarship, you got to the location, but at the same time, now guys don't know how to humble themselves and fit culture, because they don't realize that once you get to that situation, everybody can put the ball in the hole. He was Mr. Basketball. He was Mr. Basketball. He was a McDonald's all runner-up. You there with those guys now. There's a reason why it's 3% that makes it to these college situations. Everybody is good. Everybody might not be good upstairs, but everybody's good as far as the skill level. It's just motor that separates. And then one thing I've been starting to say too, I found myself saying is you got good players, but then you got exceptions. The exceptions are the ones that we're going to see, but the exceptions might not be the exceptions right now before us. It's just about who's going to do the extra. Like you said, the 500 shots. Okay. We mandate you make 500 shots. Who's in here trying to shoot 1,000 a day? All right, my arm going to hurt. Okay, cool. Whatever. When next time we play? Well, we got a couple of days off. Your arm will be fine. Stop making up these, fake narratives in your mind so that way you can restrict yourself from the things that you want to go and do. Like, I'm pretty sure you've heard, yeah, I don't want to lift on game day. So we had a preferred walk on go to Missouri, right? It was over there with MPJ and all those guys when they were there. That, oh, I can't lift this. Nah, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to dictate your schedule once you get to that level. And then there's going to be people that are smarter than you that have devised these systems so that way you can perform optimally. That you're basically saying, "Nah, I know more than you." No, you don't. You're 18.
Yeah,
you don't. You don't have a clue. But you're trying to get within the echelon of the people that you're trying to not talk bad about. But you're trying to say that I want to go and do it this way. Well, basically, you just made yourself an individual, but you're supposed to be on the team. Yeah. That got to break up too.
Yep. I have one like speech. It's my go-to every year. Mm-hmm. It's we get there, team dinner. First team dinner. Yeah. So okay, I want you to raise your hand if you were the best player on your high school team last year. So everybody. I want you to leave your hand up if you're the best player here. Everybody. Mm-hmm. So okay, we're gonna have to figure out who's the go-to. Who can do what they need to do. And I tell them all the time, can you make a layup? Yeah. Well, if you run the offense, we're going to get you a layup. Mm-hmm. But when we need it, who is the go-to? Because I get it. All of you guys were the best player we came from.
Yeah.
That's why you're at the college level. The second thing I do, same night, is just hand out little sheets of paper, usually like note cards. Okay, I need you to write down a couple things for me. How many points are you going to average this year? How many assists are you going to average this year? Are you starting? And how many minutes should you play this year? As they eat and get together, they laugh, they have fun. I'm sitting there doing the math. And then at the end, I'm like, man, we're going to have a really good season, guys. Like, we're going to average 176 points with 45 assists. We're going to have a really good season, guys. And exactly. And it's like, well, we can't all do that. Mm-hmm. But if you want to have a successful winning season, you're going to have to figure out your niche. What is it that makes you make us go? Mm-hmm. I don't need 5 point guards. I don't need 5 on the court at the same time. I'm a little guy. I'm 5'8". So I'm not scared to have little guys, but I can't play 3 of you at the same time.
Yep.
And so it's, you find your niche. Like, look at K-State right now. K-State is in the Sweet 16 with a 5'8" point guard. It's not that, a lot of coaches, I need a 6'6" and above. Okay. But it's not necessarily that it's not a necessity if you've got a guy that can do it.
Yeah.
But again, we're not going to average 176 points. So what can you do other than score is going to be the difference. Like if you just, I had a 6'4" power forward, and everybody's 6'4" power forward. 6'4" power forward who got every rebound. Mm-hmm. I mean, if the ball's on the floor, he's on the floor. Those are guys that stick. And the only reason he went D2 is because he said, I want to go to an HBCU in this specific area that has journalism. I said, okay. So we found that. And we said, okay, I found those are the 3 things you wanted. Here's the school. Let me make a call. I said, look, coach, I've got a guy. And I promise you don't know me, but I promise you won't go wrong. And he goes. I was like, that's exactly what you wanted. Let's find the perfect spot. He goes and he has a time. He has a great, 2 years there. And he loved it. But he found his niche. I didn't need 16 to 18 from you. I do sometimes. If you've got a mismatch, punish them. But, again, on that team, we had the 2 All-American candidates. I don't necessarily need you to score every time down. Yep. Set a hard screen. If you want to, they miss a shot, that's yours. Go get it, put it back in the hoop. Mm-hmm. And he did that, relentlessly. So, yeah, finding your niche is definitely important here in the game, especially as you try and get to the next level.
For sure. So can't beat any kind of thing like that. So what I wanted to ask you about is as far as kids transferring, either Division I, Division II, or post grad to 4-year or JUCO to 4-year. What do you think the most important thing for kids and families to figure out when they are on that path?
Right. Um, my mom is a principal, so that's always kind of like first thing we talk about. What is your major? You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you're whatever you want to do, if your school doesn't have that, well, maybe we either look, is there something else you're actually passionate about, or do we have to look elsewhere? You know,
Absolutely.
so that's the first thing, because again, the ball stops bouncing eventually. You have to take advantage of it, but also get to where you want to go. And then secondly, I think it's culture. Um, if I am, let's just say, for example, if I'm just a catch and shoot corner three, but I do it at a high clip and play defense,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go somewhere where they don't fast break and they don't push to the corners. I don't want to go somewhere where they want their two guard to be, 40-inch vertical and putting people on posters and selling tickets. And so it's always about fit. So it's fit, and within fit, it's more than just basketball. It's like my kid that went HBCU because he wanted to go to HBCU in a specific state, with a specific degree. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then why? The why is important too, because talking to the coach, if this coach and I don't see eye to eye as far as like my vision for myself, and I don't agree with or think that his vision of me is what I want to do, he's not going to change his mind.
Nope.
So let's look at that. And again, the why is he thinking that way, and can I see myself fitting where he wanted me? And if not, we move on to the next one. But it's definitely culture, fit, and then school. Yeah, I know we see it all the time, usually at the Division I level, but it's a general studies degree, you know, just random degrees that maybe won't translate once you have to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
At the Division I level, some of those guys that are really, really going to go pro, okay, fine. You're probably not going to finish. You've got 1 or 2 years and then you're out, right? But my guys, if you're coming from JUCO, let's plan on you being there 4 years or 5 and get a master's, and then try and pursue something. And so that's always important. Like if I had one of my All American candidates, he was an accountant by trade. Like his dad was an accountant, has a firm. He's an accountant, right? So we had to go somewhere that was going to bring that out of him and
Right.
help him get to where he wanted to go when he was 35. And we did that. But I think that's important because again, we get back into the D1 or bust mentality, and we just choose a school. Not all schools are the same. Not
Mm-hmm.
all schools are liberal arts schools. Not all schools have great business programs. Not all schools have great whatever you're looking for. So that I think those are the important things: is education, fit, and culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And piggyback on that, we had a kid. He had some Division II attention, um, some slight Division I attention because he wanted to go into engineering. Then suddenly, about April 12th or something like that, Jordan sends a text like, "I don't think I want to go into engineering anymore." And it's just kind of like, I could throw some boxing gloves at your feet just for how I feel right now because all these schools want you for this, and you fit this, and you're a 3.8 GPA guy, so they want you for this. Well, I just chose engineering because I like math and my dad does engineering. I'm just like, okay, whatever's on the table on the deck, just let's just all throw it away and throw it and start over. Well, he had been being recruited by this St. Louis College of Pharmacy this entire time. He just kept putting it off because he's like, I don't know if I can, at that time go to them being a losing program. They built it up pretty nicely. They've given themselves a great facility, everything like that. He just didn't know if he could make that move, right? Things happen, man. But so the kid's name was Jordan. St. Louis College of Pharmacy was after him that entire time, with the engineering, degree switch. So he looks them up, and we call him into the office or whatever just to see his thoughts. He had already looked them up. He's like, yeah, they had been losing and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, but you don't think about it like that. With that kind of GPA, and realistically, the running joke was in 10 years from now, when you have a master's or a doctorate degree, coming from a place that essentially they were saying that hey, they could pay for 80% of his medical school as well as put him on scholarship. He goes down there, has a great time, and a lot of the schools that passed on him, whether they were Division 1 or Division 2 or what have you, the dunking clinic that man put on was just kind of like, whoa, but maybe we should have listened to what they were saying because, like you said, 6'1", 45-inch vertical, and this kid was so talented with his athletic ability. You're going for a layup, he slow down, let you get in front of him just so he could pound it off the backboard and rebound it and take off the other way. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get the ball from you easier just doing this, and you're not
Yeah.
gonna see it coming because he jumped like a cricket. Just go, hey, up, I'm up here, block, mine. You still don't know what's going on. I'm gone, and he did that for 2 years, and then he goes there and breaks all these records scoring or whatever just because he ended up being a scoring machine too. But then he adapted, most importantly, because that was a situation that could have went awry for him. And then me and him were texting just about a week ago yesterday, matter of fact. And he was saying that, yeah, I graduated May 13th with my doctorates. So it's just kind of like mission accomplished. Now go to do the rest of the stuff that you wanted to do. So we got those kind of situations out there too. That's the reason why that D1 or bust culture situation is just so silly. Because now this man, essentially got a medical school situation taken care of, almost paid for. When a lot of people come out of, those situations, regardless of what their scholarship situation was, in a lot of debt. Well, if 80% of it's going to be taken care of, I mean, what are we talking about? You already know what you're about to be making. You paid it off the first year almost. You
Right.
decide to go that way, and I'm just like, hey, just give me a ticket to graduation, you'll see me.
Yeah.
Because that's always my running joke with these guys. Like whether they decide to, keep playing basketball. Some of our AAU guys have, went on to play football and done pretty well with it. I mean, my assistant at AAU 2 years ago now jokingly said to a kid, hey, man, you ever play football? Nah. If you go out for football, man, you got good hands, decent size, good speed. He told him to go out and play wide receiver, right? Well, I guess the high school didn't like him at wide receiver. They put him at DN. He gets 12 sacks, gets 14 tackles for loss, or 20 tackles for loss, one of the two, and then he ends up getting half of a ride to Iowa State, in which next year is going to turn into a full ride. And it's like, that wasn't supposed to come out like that, but it ended up happening like that just because you have the athletic ability and you just didn't apply it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
That's funny. It's funny you say that, man. I had a kid my first year in Kansas, and he ended up making the JV team. He wasn't a great basketball player, right?
mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at him, and my best friend ended up going to the NFL as a running back. I'm looking at him. I'm going, you look just like him. I'm like, you. So I start talking to him. I said, well, he's like, I played football my sophomore year in high school. I don't really want to play. I said, well, you're a 4.0 kid. You want to be closer to home. KU is right there at home. Maybe we figure it out. And at the time, KU, they couldn't get right for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks on, plays running back for them. And I'm like, well, there's your D1 dream, man. And that's what it is. And it's funny because, again, sometimes they need guidance. Like, you love this. I get it. But there's better options that'll get you better long term.
Yep. And we getting it paid for, so we can really complain about right there. All right, so where I wanted to go with this conversation is just the open state, in your opinion, of athletics right now. How do we fix it if it's something wrong, or how do we push it forward? One of the two, or both of them. Because in my opinion, it's just kind of like this. It's a new day. Here it is, and they just dump it on us.
Yeah, I think it's very complex. But when we start looking at it, I think the culture overall has to kind of change. The culture right now is very me, 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 and it's probably been that way for 30 years or more, right? And it's very me, but not just me. It's different to want to be successful, but like we want to be successful, flamboyant, cocky, and just out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that brings too many problems, especially when the success rate in our field is just not there.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's first team, second team, third team All-American, and then there's the rest of you guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can't have 600 or what are we at now? 2,000 and have 800 spots and have these guys. Well, coach, I'm coming in. I'm changing the whole culture. Give me the ball. We just can't have that, and that's sport in general.
Mm-hmm.
I have a buddy. He has a pro program, and I'm like, okay. Let me just talk to him and see what he's doing. And he's like, listen, I said, okay, I got 3 kids that can come play for you. Let's play Saturday. I'll be in town. He's okay, come coach. I said, okay. So I bring my 3 kids, and he goes, here's the deal. He said, they need to show up. They don't need to be clean shaven, but they need to be neat. They need to be neat. And if their hair is long, it needs to be up. It needs to be tied so that it looks neat. They need to have on dress clothes and nice shoes when they walk in the building, not changing the locker room. And, I'm like, okay, I like that. So I get the guys there, and they understand now that culture. He's trying to change just his little pocket of culture that he has. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the more we get to where, you know, I think the leadership at the top probably is a big problem. I mean, we all want to talk about the Ja Morant situation, but it's like Ja grew up with some factors that not all of us had. He had 2 parents. His dad is very involved. I know I didn't have that. I have that now as an adult, but I didn't have that opportunity. My dad was military, so he wasn't able to be there.
Gotcha.
Um, and now that he's retired and I'm older and live back in the States, we have that relationship. But he didn't have that struggle. He went to private school his whole life, and then college was paid for. But I think the culture around athletics right now is just so it's flamboyant, which he does, and he does it well. Like, it's marketable.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, it's how much of it is a win and how much of it is just not good for you long term. We always talk about like the GOAT situation.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan has been marketable his whole life, and pretty much because if it was controversial, he almost just never
A
answered it.
lot. Mm-hmm.
Did I lose him again? So yeah. So and
Yeah,
I
that was
think
both
that's
of us.
overall. Yeah, that's overall kind of my thing is just the culture of the me. It needs to become about long term success and what does that truly look like. Um, you know, uh, Little things. I tell the kids, if you go on a recruiting visit, especially if I go with you, and you show up with pajama pants, you're going back to the hotel. You're going back to the hotel by
Mm-hmm.
yourself. I'm still going on this recruiting trip. I'm still meeting coach, and you know, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's just things like that. It's yes, you want people to look at you, but you want people to look at you for the right reasons. And
Correct.
I think that's the piece that in my mind is missing. Everybody wants to be noticed. Everybody wants to be seen. But it's why are they noticing me and why are they looking? And I think we can
Exactly.
change, we can change a lot. I mean, I know your goal, my goal is yes, we want to play basketball. Yes, we want success, but we want to create leaders for the communities in which they're coming from because we get kids from nationwide, worldwide. I had kids from this year from Kosovo. I want when they go home, I want them to carry themselves differently. Say, hey, look, you can do what I did. Here's how we did it. Instead of, I'm the man. You probably can't do what I did.
Yeah.
No, they can still go to school. They can still have good grades. They can still have all this stuff. So that's kind of my biggest takeaway right now is we're all about me, but it's about me for the wrong reasons. We're
Yeah.
all about going viral, but we're not always going viral for positivity.
Mm-hmm. And that was part of our situation too at the start of practice yesterday for AAU, because we always try to have like a what we call it on the court this season. So we had guys on the court, but we're gonna have a meeting before we do anything. So we were just going over certain things, and then one of the things that came up was like, "Hey, y'all, social media," and I was like, once we read through the actual guidelines, because we just did it as a whole high school group instead of just isolating 17U. So as the entire high school group is listening, and we're just kind of like, look, all those factors that were already named that we have written down in our binder, that's one problem. Now the other problem is if I catch any of you locking your pages, trying to keep me out or other people out, you're doing nothing but doing yourself a disservice because now they can't find you. And then, wait a minute, what does he have to hide? More importantly, so that is a major problem too. It's like, what do you have to hide? It's your page. If you want to be silly or whatever, go start another page. However, you run the risk being silly on there if you put something on there and it's not what they want. I mean, that's what we run into sometimes as professional adults. We can't just have whatever, if we represent a school. They don't want to
Right.
see you representing that light. So somebody be like, oh, okay, This is Coach T. Let me go look at his page. Ooh, what's this? Coach T got this on his page or this on it? You know that's going to be an issue, and it's going to be questions that are going to be asked that these people that are in these positions don't want to answer for you. The same way, if Coach comes to your page, there's going to be questions asked about what you have on your page, and that's only if he thinks you're worth your salt, as far as him wanting to bring you in, so that way he can help you correct those things. Now, that's only if he wants to help you correct those things. 9 times out of 10, what's this? Yep, denied. We're done. And he's going to move on, and you're not even going to know he moved on, or she's going to move on, or whatever. You're not going to know what happened. But it's all because you wanted to be cool. Everybody wants to be cool. No. Like the same thing I told them. Smart people get paid. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't want everybody uses the joke about the doctor. Nobody wants a doctor that failed out of school. I was like, yeah, you need surgery, but he only took the first quarter of the syllabus and read it. He didn't do any coursework. Do you want him as a surgeon? No. Okay then. So why do you want to be a C student? We can explain stuff to you like you're a C student because you might not get it. But at the same time, the C student is not even the problem. It's the application of what you're trying to do and how it actually comes out. Because it'd be the same for a mechanic or whatever situation. You want smart people to be in those positions of competence because I need you. The same way, looking at my point guards on this team. I need a point guard to handle the ball. I don't need my center handling the ball. My center is handling the ball, well, then how are we initiating offense? He might be able to handle the ball, but can he initiate offense? Everybody's not going to be Nikolai. It's just not going to happen. But at the same time, like we've been talking about, know your role, know your niche, find what you can actually do within the program or within the team so that way you can make everything better. Now, as far as the social media tip, they just don't understand sometimes that I can't go and have fun like everybody else. Everybody else is not you. You're exceptional. Be exceptional. And don't be afraid to be exceptional amongst your peers. Because one of the reasons why they're drawn to you is you're the exception. And it's not I need to be tough or up here or anything like that. But no, you're the exception, bro. You're the exception, young lady. Like, be the exception. Because what happens is you draw in more people that are exceptional. And before you know it, you have all these great people that you can draw from, that you can have conversations with, so that way you can become better in many, many, many facets of life. Not just how Wilson bounces or Rollins or whatever ball you're deciding to play with at that time. It's more to this. Whether it's get a degree, don't get a degree, go into a trade, don't go into a trade, start a business, LLC, however you want to slice it. We all trying to get to the same goal. We just got different routes in which we get there. No different than with the freeway system. Yep. So I just be all over. Sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I know I'm talking, but y'all gonna listen today because look, y'all can listen or run.
My favorite is you're gonna listen while you run.
or like they thought they got away last night, but I'm big on I need you guys to talk. I don't care what it looks like. You know what the calls are, but I need you guys to talk. So they thought they got away with it last night because we got like a seconds clock up there on the wall. I'm looking at it like, they ain't talk for this amount of seconds. They thought they got away from it. Y'all got to see me today. So that's going to be one of the things. So like you said, talk when you're running. So I have this thing called competitive suicide. Mm-hmm. And when we do that it's based on if I feel it or not. If I don't feel it, we're going to keep doing it. We'll get in shape that way. But what ends up happening is you stick one kid on one end. Doesn't matter who the kid is. You stick one kid there. He goes, touches the free throw line. The rest of the line can't start until he does. What that means is none of you guys can dog this. And if you're not close or 2 steps or 3 steps behind the next kid, we're going to do it again because you're not giving me your maximum effort. Then the entire time you're doing it, whatever defensive calls we have, since you guys won't talk on defense, you're going to yell them out. Well, coach, we're going to be tired. Sounds like a game. Sounds like every 30 seconds in the college game, I said. There was a reason those guys are tired every 4 minutes. They need the 30-second break or they need the 1-minute break. Don't come to my practice, not in shape. And then on top of that, you shouldn't be not in shape anyway. You just finished your high school season and all you guys play. So what are we talking about? So I'm just going to smack you over the head with logic. Yeah, but You got about 3 rebuttals, and then y'all just going to run for the next 30 minutes.
Yep.
So we break that up now so that when we get to tournament time, we're good. But too, like, some of the, most of these kids, they're going into their senior year or whatever. So it's just kind of like, okay, I made it this far. I can coast a little bit. No, you can't. This is the most important part,
Yeah, but it's
especially for
time to
some of
go
the
full
guys that.
throttle.
Yeah, especially for some of the guys we got that they had injuries coming in spring. Summer they were fine, but a lot of injuries in spring. So you guys are healthy. Let's roll. I mean, what else we got to do?
Yeah.
So, only thing I got less for you, Coach, is trophy time. So I want you to let everybody know about you, where you are coaching, how they can reach out to you. Please, no cell phones, just because we don't need that.
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, right now I'm helping a friend of mine coach an AAU program.
Yeah.
I'm in Oklahoma City. I'm learning Oklahoma City, so I don't want to step on any toes. I tell people all the time, let me just help out. I don't need to be the head coach. I don't need to. Let me just help out.
Yeah.
And they never listen. They always, okay, yeah, come help out. And then all of a sudden I'm the head coach. And I'm like,
Yeah, that one to go.
But yeah, but I'm there now, and it's a friend of mine. Actually, like my one true friend here in Oklahoma City, and I'm like, okay, let me see what we can do with no boundaries. So I'm there coaching AAU for the first time, trying to figure out what's next. Is it another post grad year? Is it going back to college and things like that? With my background, I'm at the moment where I'm like, do I take another JUCO job making X amount of money, and hope I can pay the bills, or what do I do? So I'm kind of at a crossroads where I love basketball and trying to figure that out. But for now, it's my passion, and I'm an all in or all out kind of guy. So right now, I'm all in. I'm at work right now. It's kind of cloudy today, but I'm up on the 20th floor looking at the city right now, and at work. And as soon as we leave here, we're gonna go to dinner, right to basketball practice. But anybody that wants to reach out to me, man, I'm always free to answer any questions. Whether it's recruiting, recovery, what do I need to do in the weight room, running. I tell the guys, it's a 4-day-a-week lift. I have lifts for you. I can do anything you want to do. Just give me a call. I'm always free to reach out to you. You can reach me on any social media platforms. It's Coach Jet Basketball on Instagram. I believe it's Coach Jet B-Ball on Twitter, and CoachJetBasketball.com. So all my information is there. You can always reach me. And I do have help, like as we talk about jumpers. This is a 3-point era. Everybody wants to shoot. And so a lot of the kids, the younger they start shooting, and they kind of like shoot with two.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a product too. It's called the Jump Shot Trainer. It actually like slides onto your thumb. It ties your thumb to your elbow. So as we come up, it's all one hand. It's not offhand flex and shooting. So I do have that too. So if anyone wants to reach out to me for that, I'll send it to you, ship it to you. Coaches, if you guys want to do it, I'll get you a discount to get you your whole team outfitted. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. Just basketball jump shot trainer. I sell it to you at cost. There's no need for me to make extra money. I have a full-time job now. No need to make extra money. Just want to help out. And anybody wants to reach out to me, it's CoachJetBasketball.com.
For sure. And that's how we'll end it.
Okay.
Go. Yeah. I got it. We on the move.